We're in conversation with the Honorable Minister of Economy from the UAE, visiting India for a series of high-level meetings to continue to accelerate business ties between the two nations. His Excellency, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Pleasure's mine.
Just yesterday, in fact, you met with Piyush Goyal. Tell us a little bit more about that meeting. We did see some posts about how a lot was discussed to further trade ties. Tell us some of the highlights.
So the meeting comes yesterday as we joined the CII annual session. I've been here in India in the last couple of months. I've been here in February when we celebrated the one-year CEPA signing on the 18th of February. I was here in March again. I skipped April, but I'm here in May. And I'm going to be here as well in June for the G20 tourism session happening in Goa. I think that's something which says something about the ties, the relationship between us and the discussion going forward. Now, just to give a bit of a macro level economic of what's happening on the relationship, especially on the CEPA aspect. The CEPA is doing about now 49 in 2022 to 49.3 billion US dollars in non-oil trade. In the past, just give you a comprehensive, in the past, it used to be $50 billion total trade. Wow. So we're looking at about now adding the number between 60 to 70 billion dollars total trade just in 1 year. Now we had targeted back then that the trade target for us is $100 billion. And I think we're going to go beyond that in the next couple of years. With the progress of movement, we've seen the India trade into the UAE escalated up to 26% growth. That shows you a huge amount of relationship. Now, these ties goes with the visionary leader, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the president of the UAE, and the cemented relation that we had over the last 50 years, and beyond that as well. And I think the important aspect is, when we look at today, we look beyond CEPA. The aspect of, yes, we are growing. Yes, we have a cemented ties. UAE's economy grew by 7.6% GDP last year, 2022. India grew by 7.7% GDP last year. And India wants to reach $5 trillion. Yes. We want to reach 800 billion. We are $400 billion. We want to reach $800 billion. Saying that is that we are in the 7% GDP growth club. And I think it's important to really emphasize on this, that we only can do it in finding new areas of investments, new areas of trade, and new areas of relationship between us. And I think that's what we need to maintain, a sustainable 7% growth every year.
Fantastic. I mean, those are some phenomenal numbers. When we're looking at investments, give us a sense of what perhaps is already committed to in terms of a number, the kind of acceleration we can see perhaps going forward this year, even incoming into India. Any particular regions or states that you're looking at perhaps, or any particular industries that are showing interest?
Well, the industries are, when we look at what are the industries that the UAE is looking at, we always look beyond the COVID-19 pandemic situation challenges. We want to sustain our economy. In doing so, that we need to look beyond the oil and gas industry. We're looking at the energy transitions. Sure. We're looking into the aspect of healthcare. India has marvelous healthcare facilities, doctors, talents. And I think there's a huge aspects of investments to do there. We're looking at real estate. There's a huge investments happening in North India and South India. And I think that's something. But the most important as well is logistics. We've seen a lot of investments coming in from the UAE into India, specifically on ports and logistics and trades and railways. And I think there's a lot of that can be shared as well into aspect of closing the trade gaps and bringing the goods towards the market and towards the doors. I think one thing which is aspect as well important, it is into if we're looking for 7% growth, we need to look into the AI domain, into the high-tech companies. I know India wants to reach to 200 unicorns. We want to reach 10 unicorns in the next 7 years. I think with that said, when we talk beyond CEPA, how can we create unicorns collectively in between? And we cannot find them in the traditional economy. We need to look at the new economies that's happening, more specifically in technology, into the aspects of science and technology. And that's the areas we're interested in.
Okay, that's really interesting because we know that India is emerging as one of the startup hubs to watch out for, and there's going to be a lot of vying for some of those investments as well, and opportunities going forward. You also had a wonderful meeting with CII. Talk to us a little bit about the kind of sentiment you felt there in terms of collaboration and future growth opportunities going forward.
Well, I just came back from the meeting with the CII members. First of all, we signed an MOU between Investopia and CII. And Investopia is a conference that happens every year in the UAE, but we take it as well outside of the UAE. We had one in India as well last year, where we speak about the new economies. What are the investments in new economies? Now, working with CII and CII members as well, is how do we collaborate, do an Investopia in India that brings into as well the members of CII into the new economy dialogue. The challenges we have in any economy is our industries are fully fixed on traditional economy, fixed in the old comfort zone where they are invested in. But the new unicorns are happening somewhere else. And I think it's important for us to really tap upon these industries and focus on what are the new economies happening. Investopia comes from the word utopia, the forbidden city, and invest comes as invest. How do you invest into something more different, more new? Sure. That's the kind of thinking that we're bringing Investopia to it, and we're hoping to do one in the last quarter of this year here in India, but we haven't decided the place yet.
Okay. Exciting. And keep us posted on that as well. The SME side of things, that is also emerging as one of the huge growth drivers for the Indian economy, at least. Was that also part of your conversation, again, in terms of how perhaps to bridge the gap between both countries and involve SMEs in trade talks?
Of course. SMEs, what we're looking at is how can we share SMEs on digital platforms? Okay. Sharing catalogs, for instance, between digital commerce, between India and the UAE. Sure. If they are qualified on a commerce in the India, how can we share that catalog on a commerce platform, e-commerce platform in the UAE? Yeah. Sharing these catalogs will really build the huge bridge between delivering products from India to the doorsteps in the UAE and bringing products from the UAE to doorsteps in India. That by itself will raise the potential what SMEs can really deliver beyond just the Indian market, scaling up towards the UAE. And the UAE, India serves maybe 2 billion people around the world. The UAE serves 1.2 billion. When you look at the UAE, we look at beyond the UAE, where the UAE has always been a hub to actually trade, facilitate, and support other regions as well, especially North Africa.
Absolutely. It becomes a gateway
to other regions.
To larger conversations. What has been your experience in engaging with India? It sounds extremely promising. You signed CEPA, as you said, you've moved beyond that. You now are looking at so many other avenues to continue to build on that. But what have been your experiences frequenting India, working with businesses here, working with regulators? Any areas you feel perhaps that there could be challenging, or other areas that have been fruitful?
Well, the engagement so far has been seamless. I think it has been a way where this agreement is wanted by both parties. Like I said, traders between the UAE and India has always been there 100 years ago. Sure. And I think what we just signed in a piece of paper last year was just cementing this relationship and opening more doors and unlocking. What's important is for us as well to see is more investments. Mm-hmm. Getting more investments in from India to the UAE, from the UAE to India, having more seamless into projects that really actually create trade. Because trade and investments go hand in hand. Sure. If you want trade, you have to invest. And the vice versa to actually send products within products. And that's the moral of it. And I think what we really look forward is now how can go beyond just the many, we spoke about it in the stage yesterday in the annual session. How about minilateralism? The concept of bringing two nations like UAE and India together, but adding another third country, the fourth country, and creating a kind of a corridor of trade as well through that. This is something which is the next for us. I think it's important to use the success of our trade and investments that's happening and move into it as well into other regions and other countries.
I think that's fascinating because I see world over that there is a shift towards having as you said, multilateralism, but in a smaller way, and seeing dialogues far more productive in that sense. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I wanted to get a sense from you in terms of, really how the global environment or mood is currently, according to you. The UAE has played a huge part in getting things or getting the sentiment back on track after we saw the big hit during COVID. We've seen a huge buzz when it comes to the UAE and business and traffic and tourism in that particular region. But going forward, are you still concerned? Are there still any clouds with regards to any kind of global recession?
Well, see, whatever going to happen, we need to have agility in our policies. Our leadership always have the aspects of to be more agile. Let me tell you a couple of experiences we had when we were actually consulting with the businesses at the time of COVID-19. When we sat with businesses in, let's say, September, October in 2020, early 21, there's one thing which was in common. They said, please keep us in the loop. Let us know ahead if there's anything that's going to happen that we need to take care of and actually arrange ourselves, because that will actually create a huge area. So communication was a big importance between the relationship between the government and the industry and the businesses. And I think what we did is important to keep that dialogue open. We had a communication briefing happening every week to tell and explain what's going to happen on every aspects. And I think that's one of the important relationships that happens. So what does it mean? It's agility. So how you can be agile, move fast. So whatever recession is happening in the future, UAE can guarantee we have agility in our pockets, making sure that we can move fast and adapt to any challenges.
Awesome. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you here again very soon and keeping track of some of these developments. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.